And we are live.
Oh gosh.
Welcome to Buzzbait Podcast, your way of something new each week. I'm your host, Laura, and today my co-hosts are
That
Colin
doesn't
and
sound
Megan.
right.
No, Laura didn't edit this for me. Sorry. I'm your host, Megan. Laura and Colin are not here, and today's co-hosts are Morgan, who we've had on a guest before. If you've seen episode 9 of the podcast, and episode never non-existent, Lena has not been here. But if you ever see any animation on our channel, that's who Lena is.
If we ever get there, dude, you can't. Don't promise things. I'm stuck in the darkness.
So yes, so Colin and Laura have been replaced. I now own the channel. They're gone for good. These people here with me are the new ones for now.
I've taken the title of Megan. I think I suit it well. I shall don some glasses and a black hoodie so that I suit it even better.
Starting out this episode with strong undertones of chaos.
Okay.
What do you expect from 3 podcast hosts all with ADHD?
And speaking of ADHD, as that's the thing that we have in common, that's today's topic. We're going to talk about our ADHD-fueled hyperfixations.
Let's go.
We love that.
Are we 3 podcast hosts in a trench coat? Is my only question.
Yeah.
If
So
we
wait,
had a trench coat,
if
yes.
you're Megan and I said that I was Laura, Morgan, you get to be Colin.
I'm Colin.
Congratulations.
Hi, everyone.
What a fun vibe.
You have to bring Florida man energy now. That's
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Do you like Full Metal Alchemist?
Full Metal Alchemist?
Yeah. One Piece, Full Metal Alchemist, Florida Man vibes. Let's go.
Oh,
Yep.
Lord.
You're now an anime enthusiast, and you
Oh,
only wear
that's-
sandals and shorts.
Okay, well, all right.
Getting into character, I see you're building the...
Okay, I've got this. Let's find the One Piece. I've never seen it before.
Gotta catch all the pieces. Is that
Gotta
right?
catch them all, or gotta
all
catch
the pieces.
the
that one.
singular piece. That one. And
Oh,
I've
that
got
one
my
piece.
straw hat on.
I
All
only
right.
watched
gosh.
Half Metal Alchemist. Is that the same thing? It had
It's-
like a
it's
lot
not.
of.
It's close
okay.
enough, maybe.
Yeah,
It's close, but it's not right. Like it didn't follow the manga at all. Like there's the one that like started following the manga and then
Yeah.
they got ahead of it, and then there's the one that's like this is what just the manga is. Half Metal is like we like the concept, but we're not following the manga.
there was a
at
lot
all.
more fan service than people seem to describe in Full Metal Alchemist. There's a lot more
Mhm.
like under the
Yeah.
stairs shots. You know how anime is.
Yeah. One thing I
So-
did like, they got rid of that whole Shao Tucker arc. Ugh, shit fucks me
Mm.
up. I couldn't.
no
kinda-
idea what you're talking about, but I appreciate it.
A dude hybrided his daughter and dog into a chimera creature.
That sounds
Like
It
healthy
was-
morally
parenting.
questionable.
Dark.
Oh. Wait, I should change myself back to the Dark Lord because
So-
I did totally different. I had a totally different take on that.
If you're ever wondering what it's like to have ADHD, this is it.
Oh yeah, we were gonna define. we were gonna go into a definition of like hyperfixation or whatever. So
Yeah,
Morgan,
just-
do that.
Just on the off chance that this is all new terms for you and you don't constantly live with like 15 tabs open in your brain, the Merriam-Webster definition of a hyperfixation is when someone is completely and utterly absorbed or obsessed with a specific topic, interest, or activity. We've all seen these people on the internet, and today we are these people. So
We've seen
on the internet.
ourselves in the mirror.
yeah, we're just looking in the mirror today. It's time for some introspection. What are some hyperfixations that you guys have had currently, over the years, presently?
Okay. So I'm gonna go first because I've been thinking about it lately again because
Yeah,
they come
kick
in
it off.
they come in cycles, right? They come in waves.
Yeah.
You guys know I like animation, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Animation is a broad medium, but the thing that I love about animation in particular is traditional hand-drawn animation. Okay? So
Yeah.
like not any of this modern bullshit. It's beautiful and amazing and people are immaculately talented, but I love the idea that some motherfucker sat in a dark room with a light shining in their eyes and drew hundreds of the same picture, slightly different.
So we're
Um,
talking like OG Disney, like Snow White.
OG Disney Snow White, right? And the reason I've been thinking about it again recently is because I was drawing, as I do. That's all I do every day. And I was thinking about how from when you're very very young you learn how to like hold a pencil and you learn how to use this tool no matter how much you're like an artist or a drawer, you just most people know how to use a pencil, and how different it feels to switch that to like a digital medium. Like everybody's striving to recreate that feeling in a digital way, and how it just kind of doesn't work because it's not the same thing. um and so I was drawing, and then I was like, okay, maybe I should just like figure out maybe how I could do animation traditionally. And then I opened up a tab, and that's how it all started. And then I opened up another tab. But what's amazing to
Down the
me,
rabbit hole.
yeah, for real. Um, but what's amazing to me about traditional hand drawn animation is the amount of like I want to say the amount of like collaboration and the amount of like building blocks toward a cohesive work. So if you look at old animation, the backgrounds are like hand painted. These are actual illustrations that like you could hang up on your wall, right? These aren't just like pieces, these aren't just files, these aren't just like media files. And then like and then someone had to know so well just like how something moved, right?
Yeah.
Just like isn't that crazy? Like we have all this language and this knowledge that we know about, but we don't have like words for, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we know languages beyond just like I know people are multilingual. I'm not an idiot. But there's a whole other language, and it's this language of body language that we know, right? Most people, depends on how neurodivergent you're feeling that day. um
Shout out.
Shout out to all of my homies and myself. But there's body language, but there's also mood, right? Like colors invoke
Mhm.
certain mood. And there's also how do I describe it? It's so hard to articulate, but there is staging that people like
Yeah.
automatically respond to, and regardless of if you're taught it or not, regardless of if you are um educated in it, you have an instinctual response to it. That's why movies are shot the way that they are, and like how they change over time is kind of based on
Yeah.
how the temperament of the audience changes over time. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's what
No,
I've
I
been into lately.
completely get that because that's getting more into like the psychology side of things, which was a hyperfixation of mine for a hot
Hell yeah.
minute, and high key still is. But yeah, like the way that when when there's a light doorway in the background and there's a character standing in a dark room, you're drawn to look at that, and the setup makes you feel anxious.
It makes you
It's
feel a type
it
of way without even realizing it.
yeah.
And that's really it's interesting because in early animation, so for a long time it was just kind of treated as a throwaway medium, a little bit like how comics used to be. They used to be printed on really cheap newsprint, and they used to be really disposable, and people used to not really care, right? They were just kind of they were, I would say, the equivalent of TikToks. They were old school
Ye old
TikToks,
TikToks.
ye old TikToks where you're literally just supposed to eat it and never look at it again. Um,
What?
and so with time, as like we've kind of developed as a more mature medium, I suppose, it's like these natural instincts of people have been, I don't want to say capitalized on, but you know what I mean, they've been taken
Mhm.
and turned into like a yeah, the psychology of people has been analyzed, and to such an extent that now we have ways to literally extract emotion from people.
Yeah, that's why you have all these classes, like if you're in business school, there's the psychology of marketing, what colors and what do they call the buzzwords that people respond to?
Mhm.
It
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and I just the reason I was like bringing that up in relation to animation is because I feel like we've lost a little bit of the artistry of it. We've kind of
Mhm.
gone too far into the formula of it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Um, and I get obsessed with old stuff because I'm like, okay, I'm an old person in a young person's body, where I'm like, things were better in the olden days. That's absolutely not true, and I know it's totally I'm looking at a very small pinhole of light into the olden days.
Yeah,
But
Mhm.
yeah.
and specifically in relation to a lot of media where like when it was still young and still like people were experimenting, I kind of look back on that with like rose tinted glasses, and I'm like, wow, this is really amazing. I can't believe I can't believe people
Like
people
the
be
art
peopling.
in its purest form.
And I think that there
Yeah.
is something special about that, especially when it comes to like creative areas where you do get to look back and you're like, wow, there was a time before all of these kind of like things and like, because like rules and boxes and places that you get put
Hmm.
now.
Yeah.
And there was a time before that where people were still figuring this stuff out and learning and experiencing, and like to kind of want to have that kind of experience, I don't think is uncommon. And I
Hmm.
think that especially like you said, like in these pinhole circumstances, like yeah, maybe not everything was greater back then, but to just have that experience, I think is in and of itself like a really cool um like thought to have, and just be like, wow, what would it have been like to be in that position, or to be able to experience things this way instead of how you had to experience it because of progression and how things moved.
It ties in a little bit to the transition from art as a kind of performance media, as in like a thing to show people, into like a commercial art world that we kind of live in now, where art is more of a product. If it's more
Yeah.
of a it's more tailored to either advertising or graphic arts or all these things, where it is a thing to sell you something,
Mhm.
um versus it is the thing to be observed, if that makes any sense.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I appreciate like animation and the things that it can do specifically because, and like I mean comics and cartoons and any kind of like thing that uses the main medium of art for the purpose of like enhancing a story, being able to tell something in a way that it might not have that same impact or elicit the same emotions or like affect a person the same way as just making a show out of it. Because, like, even like when you have like something that's like heavy on CGI or even heavy on practical effects, the
Hmm.
things that you can do with art and animation, um, I feel like is such a different like way to enhance and tell a story. And that's one of the things that I fixate a lot on, especially when it comes to like things that come from like books or stories, and then when they make like movies and shows out of it, I
Hmm.
really enjoy when they use the fact that it is a visual medium
Hmm.
to enhance the story that they're telling. A lot of times, they cut stuff out or they change stuff, and that usually sucks because people are like, "Well, I like this because I wanted to like this because I like the book so much." But when they use the medium to add to it, I think it's so amazing, and I feel like art is one of those ones that you can do a lot more
They're
additions.
definitely totally different versions of storytelling, right? Like you can't just copy paste a book into a movie, or else you're going to have like
Mhm.
a lot of internal narration, like just spoken out loud, because a lot
Mhm.
of writing is implicit and a lot of movies are kind of explicit because you're just
Mhm.
showing someone something. Um but that's an interesting thought, because I was thinking about this too. Art has a really interesting way of making people able to suspend disbelief. We've entered this era of like hyper realism, like hyper CGI, like hyper realism, and the thing that happens there is that you're always super critical of it, because you're like,
Mhm.
I know what real life looks like. You live in real
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
So when you see the water ripples and they're slightly off, wasn't that like a thing with the Spider-Man game? People were like, the water ripples are like not photoreal or something
Oh,
like that.
probably. But
I
it's funny that you should bring up Spider-Man because that your point about hyperrealism in animated movies, um, I think is part of what made the Spider-Verse movies so massive because they played around with a style of animation that for mainstream entertainment
mhm.
is very new, and it doesn't look at all realistic, especially when they're going through to like the different dimensions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um it's so abstract, and in the age of hyperrealism in animated movies, that's just not something that we see.
Yeah,
So the fact that they were able to bring it back and use that was honestly part of what made that movie such an incredible experience.
that movie is a masterclass in people who understand animation and art as a medium, not just as a product, and is not
Mhm.
just as like an entertainment thing, and who seriously fucking love comics and fucking love
Yeah.
animation. And that is just
That
So
is
cool.
animation done right.
It's
Modern
so
animation
cool.
done right is that movie.
It's exactly. It makes me so happy when I when I think about that movie because I'm not super into like the fandom or whatever of it, and I was really happy when people were making their what was it
There's
spider
like the spider OCs,
their
there's
spider
spider
OCs
sonas.
spider sonas, yeah,
Are
with
we getting
spider
too close
sonas.
to furries in that?
Oh god,
Sorry,
all
keep going, keep going.
all internet roads lead to furrydom. Um, I was really happy about that, but, like, what I really loved is that, like, it seemed like they just really knew comics in all of these
Mhm.
different ways. They staged it. They staged a lot of the scenes to reflect comics. They changed the frame rate to suit different scenes because, like, there's something really amazing about super smooth animation. It looks very realistic. It looks very cinematic, but there's also something really punchy and
Yeah.
dramatic about lower frame rates,
And
especially.
it's much more memorable.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. It's anyway, that was my that was my rant. Thank you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk rant.
Excellent hyperfixation. That's
It is a
I
very
didn't think I
easy to
was gonna.
hyperfixate on because, like, I got drawn into that conversation, and what the hell do I know
Oh,
about
yeah.
animation?
Uh
Yeah.
love it so much. It's so magical.
I didn't think I was gonna be able to relate to that as much as I did.
Mhm.
That was really cool.
What have you guys been into? What have you been up to? Up to?
Up
Both.
to and into.
Do you wanna go
Uh,
next, Morgan?
sure. Oh, man. Where do I even start? God, how do I follow that up?
Anything. Literally
I
I
anything.
mean, that's the whole point of this, is that
Yeah.
anything.
I
Anything
mean, so
goes.
fair. Um, let's see. My hyperfixation rant of the day is going to be uh psychology because it ties in.
Ooh.
Yeah, so like it ties in with one of the.
Hyperfixation to begin with.
Yeah, 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 it talks about that to begin, but yeah. um oh my god, where do I even start? One of the hyperfixations that I was thinking about talking about today was true crime, because
Okay, nice.
I have done extensive research into everything true crime. It started, as I imagine it does for most people, with Criminal Minds,
Oh
and
no.
then
Dude,
like,
you can't bring me back there.
oh, buckle
oh,
up.
oh
um
no.
yeah, yeah, started out with that in like high school, watched all, whatever, like 12 seasons that were out at the
Dude,
time.
yes, dude, yes.
Present day, I've watched that show through probably like 4 times, but at a
Yep.
certain point, like, maybe like the second watch through of that, kind of start wanting to know about a little bit less dramatized versions, and they do
Mhm.
mention real genuine cases like in the background in some of those episodes.
Yeah, yeah.
So that kind of led me into looking into more the true crime side of things. And then I discovered this incredible podcast. If I could just, I mean, not that they're gonna hear this. If they did, I'd cry. But um
Plug 'em. Let's go, let's plug
there
'em.
is a true crime podcast called My Favorite Murder. And it is run by these two wonderful women, Georgia and Karen.
Murder.
Murder.
And I brought you murder. Judas, no!
Oh,
Sorry, hang on. Cut this part out.
no, don't.
cut this.
Don't.
Cut this. Yeah. My Favorite Murder, hosted by Karen Kilgariff and Georgia Hardstark. And
What a name, can I just say? That's a
I
fucking
know,
good-ass name. That's
right?
a good-ass name, yeah.
They got the name, they got the voices, they got the comedy on top of talking about some of the most fucked up shit I've ever heard.
Mm.
Ooh.
Which
So
is
so that is, I wanna
truly a
interject here.
talent.
Let me shout out my one of my favorite horror podcasts. Horror, it's true crime and supernatural stuff, which I like that little mix of. It's called And That's Why We Drink. It's
Oh god. Okay.
um
Uh,
so they literally like started off, they like anyways, they're fantastic. They do a great job of being like, this is a very dark and serious topic, we're gonna make jokes around things. We obviously take this, like, very, very seriously, but, like, we don't wanna we don't wanna fuck ourselves up mentally and or other people, so, like, they do a good job of, like, keeping things light, making little jokes around stuff, but
Mhm,
also, like, telling a story. They do fantastic, very, very thorough research, which I also really love, because
mhm.
they don't just go like, "Oh, okay, here's some facts," and then, like, because sometimes I feel like with true crime especially, like, you only get, like, small glimpses because there can be so much,
Mhm.
but fantastic, but they do a great job of, like, that comedy, like Morgan is saying, where they can make it funny, but not make it seem like they're making light
Yeah.
of the crime itself and, like, the situation itself. Like, they're, like, bully serial killers, like, they're just, like,
Yes,
making fun of, you
exactly,
know what I mean?
exactly.
Where you're taking something and you're not making light of the victims, you're not making light of the crime itself or the situation, but you can add some levity to, like, a very dark, very serious topic.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So, the other thing that got me into this true crime hyperfixation was, where I started originally in this ramble, um, psychology. I went to school for psychology very briefly. Well, not very briefly, whatever. Moot point. I went to school for psychology briefly. And in it, we learned a lot about all the famous like psychological studies like oh my god, this is terrible. I just had his name. Phineas Gage, that's what it is.
Is
Um
that the dude who got the pole through his face?
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
shit. Okay, yeah.
Super sweet dude gets TNT fueled railroad spike driven through his
It's like 6 feet
frontal
tall
lobe.
or something like 5 or 6
As you
feet.
do
It's
back in the day.
ridiculous. The
Yeah,
picture of
casually. It
him
was
standing with it is
clean.
crazy.
Yeah. It was through and through. It didn't get stuck. The blast was so strong it went clean through his head.
Shivers.
And miraculously the dude survived, and afterwards he was a complete asshole.
Mm.
Mhm,
Changed because your frontal lobe,
Mhm.
or at least the front part of your brain, is what controls your impulses, and it controls
executive function.
executive
Hey
function
guys, I
and
think I know which part is wrong. I think I know which part.
and your personality. Yes. It is. Yes, ADHD does affect that.
Yes, yes, it does.
If
But
like if there was a cartoon magnifying glass on my brain, that part would look like a shriveled raisin.
it's mine is so smooth.
Like glass, atomic mirror.
Yep.
Which is interesting because I heard someone referred to ADHD. They were talking about it like in a very like clinical way, and they're like, ADHD isn't really this like hyperactive or attention disorder. It's an executive function disorder. It's that
Mhm.
part of your brain that controls like impulsivity and your ability to kind of like push yourself to do these things. That is like a huge part of like the deficiency
Yeah.
and everything. But with what you're saying, Morgan, like I'm tangentially, okay, I'm probably not as well versed on it as you because I didn't go to school for psychology. I took a psychology 101 class. um I did that my senior year of high school, by the way, and realized that just the few years between the 10th graders and the 12th graders was a big difference because
Oh
the
yeah.
teacher mentioned the medulla oblongata, and I like quoted Waterboy, and I was like, Mama says alligators are so ornery because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush, and nobody got it but the teacher, and I was like, oh my god, I. Anyways,
uh
but I
So,
yeah.
dude, I
Okay.
don't get it now.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't get
sorry.
it either, but
I'm
go
so
off,
old.
queen.
I'm so old.
Dude, you did it again. It's like been how many
Yeah, it's
years and you
deja
did it
vu.
again?
It's the oh god. Well, you're both like 22, so
I'll
I
have
can't.
you know that I am a week away from being 24.
Oh,
Actually,
actually, sorry. I don't know why I thought you were younger, but 24. I am
Dude, your
less than
birthday's
a week
also in
away.
November?
Mine's
your
also in
birthday's in
November.
November?
Yeah,
Oh
dude,
my god.
November
All
30th. High
three,
five.
all
Holy, oh
three of
my
us.
god, let's
Wait,
go.
Over
Morgan.
air high five.
Yeah,
Bam.
over air high five.
Morgan,
Um,
are you a Scorpio?
me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, me too.
Oh, congratulations.
My birthday's on the 14th. When's your birthday, Morgan?
Your birthday's on the 14th?
Yeah, literally like Thursday.
My birthday's on the 18th.
Oh my god,
Hell
we're
yeah.
so close.
Oh my
But
god, that's
Lena,
crazy.
you've gotta be what, a Sagittarius?
Mhm. I'm a
Mhm.
saggy ass.
My sister's a Sagittarius. I'm so sorry for you.
It's okay. It's
That's
funny
so
because I
funny.
think I got all of the worst Sagittarius traits if I am to believe. I got the
Is this a
I
new hyperfixation?
no, I mean my mom's really into astrology, so she tells me about it. I'll walk up to my mom and unprompted she'll be like, "Here's your horoscope for today. It's gonna be miserable." And I'm like, "Okay." I'm
Damn,
so
thanks,
glad.
mom.
Thanks, mom. I'm so glad you're encouraging me
How often is she right, though?
every day.
Oh, no.
God damn, that's terrible news.
It's fine. It's okay. I wasn't meant for things. I wasn't meant.
Oh my
Wasn't
fucking
meant for
god.
things! Oh, no.
You were meant for this podcast.
I was
You
meant
were.
for right here, right
This
now.
group of people, because I mean, think
Mhm.
about it. We all have ADHD. We
Mhm.
all were born in November. Well, you're pretty close to we're not the same, you know,
Sign.
astrological sign, but that's okay. Um,
I'm an odd one out still, even here, even amongst my people.
even amongst my people. But the birthstones that we have, it's like citrine or like the yellow topaz. Did you guys know that the
Yeah.
yellow topaz is like the most valuable color of that topaz? They've got it in like light blue and like a light pink color, but the yellow is the more valuable. It's more rare.
I always
How
liked it
about
because
that?
fall colors are the prettiest, in my opinion.
I was
I'm a
so
big
jealous.
fan.
My brother was born in May, so he has like this beautiful like green, like the emerald color. And my grandfather got my mom like he was gonna get like a birth ring or like a birthstone ring for her. And so me and my sister both born in November, so we were gonna have the same thing. And then he was like, "Oh, actually, that's ugly. So let's get two diamonds and then the emerald."
That's
Because it
so
is. It's such
sad.
a terrible like color, especially next to that beautiful green. Can you imagine that like icky yellow color?
I
I
kind of
like
like it. I'll admit it.
I know. I'm not a big
I love opal
yellowish.
the most. Okay, here's a hilarious hyperfixation, guys. This one is a comedic one. I was pricing out both synthetic and like really small pieces of raw opal because I was thinking to myself, if I ever owned a house and I had to redo the bathroom, I want an opal bathroom.
You know, you're
Okay,
not
but
supposed
that
to
would be
buy yourself
gorgeous.
opal. It's
Right,
bad luck.
right.
Someone else has
I
to buy it for you.
I don't
What's
care about
that
the bad luck.
from?
I'm gonna
You're gonna have a
I
bad luck bathroom.
my bathroom's already bad luck. You don't need to know.
All of the shits taken in there are gonna be
Yeah,
horrendous.
Just
yeah.
the worst.
They're gonna be fighting for their lives,
Pain, just sheer agony.
gripping the toilet
Like
seat.
you had the spiciest Taco Bell, but every day of your life.
You
Doesn't
walk in there
matter what you've
fine,
eaten.
and then the moment you see that opal, that self-purchased opal, everything goes.
Yo.
Horrible stomach aches.
Oh
Just
my
getting
god.
cramps. You're like, oh my god, I just
But
came in
think
here to
about it. Think
pee.
about showering in like an opal bathroom and like
Ugh,
the
it would.
rainbows reflecting everywhere. I feel like it'd be so beautiful.
It
Anyway,
would
that's a
be.
pipe dream, and that was a hilarious hyperfixation. Had like 1,000 tabs open comparing like the prices of different opals.
Oh my
Uh,
god, it would be so pretty though.
Yo, uh, let me steal this back real
Yes, I'm
quick.
so sorry.
yeah,
And
sorry.
no,
Psychology.
no, sorry. This is the ADHD episode of all ADHD episodes. Tangents encouraged. But listen to this segue.
To our sponsor.
Listen to this segue.
Opal showers.
Yeah. Tying the astrology conversation back into this, my true crime hyperfixation, there is a new Zodiac documentary on
Oh, right, about the
Netflix that I
Zodiac
watched
killer
the other week,
About
which
Ted
has
Cruz.
yeah, that's it.
being
They've
the
solved it.
Zodiac
It's
killer.
Ted
Okay,
Cruz.
sweet. I'm so glad.
So, obvious like one of the most famous cold cases of our age, you know, from the golden era. Yes, the golden era of serial killers, which is fucked up that that's a thing. But, the 70s, people got away with fucking everything, dude.
It's true.
Mhm.
I've thought
Um
about this occasionally, and I feel like if you were to kill someone and just in the middle of the night you drive on a highway, dump the body on the side of the road, who who could find you? You know?
As long as you don't
well,
end up in the system elsewhere, or your family
yeah,
hasn't done a DNA test.
in the
Well, I
modern day and age, traffic cams, dashboard cam, like,
if you're on the highway
it's
though, right? You're on the highway. You
I
pull over.
mean,
There are cameras on the highway.
true.
There
It's
are, but the amount of traffic that is going that way, if it's nighttime, it's going to be dark, so like plate cams and things like that. I've thought about I don't
If
know
there's
why.
if there's anything that
Let's not get on Lena's
consuming this
bad
much
side.
true crime content has taught me, it's that if there's a will, there's a way, both for committing the crime and being caught. There was
Mhm.
one specific murder that, and I for the life of me don't remember the
Jeez.
names or where this happened, but it was, it was a one-off murder. It was your typical husband puts life insurance policy on wife, kills wife.
Mhm.
Mhm.
The method of
Your
body
typical
disposal,
husband puts life
dude,
Yeah.
insurance
He's like,
on
"Oh,
that
Imma
wife,
get
kills
paid
wife.
and get rid of this bitch."
Oh,
It's so
that happens so
yeah.
I
often,
know,
dude.
but like
It's
the fact that you can say it's typical is so funny to
yep.
me.
That's
Oh,
it. It's how
your typical husband kills wife, gets a lot of life insurance
She lit
money.
up a room and
Yep.
he was a pillar of the community,
Mhm.
Yep.
from pillar to killer.
Mm,
Oh my god.
I
This
Ben
love
Stiller.
so the case in question that I'm reminded of when you say this middle of the night road thing, the man chose to try and dispose of his wife's body, or not try, he did definitely dispose of it. He bought a wood chipper,
Mhm.
and he drove out to a bridge in the middle of the night. And
Brother, you're wood chipping in the middle of the night, that's so fucking loud.
I
But it's a
know
bridge in the middle of nowhere,
he
you know?
Yeah,
he
but it
wood chipped her over the edge of the bridge,
mhm.
and they still caught him because the wood chipper obviously made, m you know,
Mad noise.
uh well, funny enough, it wasn't the noise. It was the A, giant wood chipper parked on a bridge,
Funny.
and B, they found her teeth in the river,
Oh, okay, interesting.
and they got the DNA from, the roots of her teeth.
And, like, a wood chipper rental, though, like, that you have to, like,
Yeah,
put a card down. That leaves,
yeah.
like, a
It's like,
thing.
"Hey, you rented this wood chipper, and there are wood chipped bits of your wife."
I guess the thing too
Gotcha.
about the highway one is that if you drive for long enough and for far enough, no one there's a certain radius in which people look, right? For missing persons or things like that.
Yes, and
Um,
also, uh, police, aren't the greatest at communication. Shocker, I
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
Anyways,
wow, it's
drive
almost
by
like
the
their entire
woo!
system is organized to be the least communicative people.
Getting
Never mind.
spicy, getting
Um,
spi
I'll rein it in. I'll hold it back.
No, 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 I'm it's we
We're all on the same
I'm
page.
just kidding. Yeah, we're all of
We're all in the
like
same
mind.
precinct.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so there's not great cross-jurisdictional communication, and if I had a nickel for every time that there was a case where it was like, "Oh man, we could have solved that faster if we'd talked to the precinct next door," I'd be rich.
Mm.
Anywho,
I would like that to be my form of tithe. So like that taxes are to me, and it's like every time someone poorly communicates, I get a nickel.
yeah.
Like,
Every time a cop fucks up, I get a penny, and I'm
Oh
still
my
fucking loaded.
god, I'm a billionaire.
no, but no, for real. Okay, so think about it. Especially if you have no personal relation to the person you're if you have a
That's the
personal
big
relation
thing.
yeah.
Well, yeah,
Um,
that's the thing is most people
yeah,
know they're killers.
that's true, I guess.
And
Which
that's
is
one of the
also
craziest things.
why I'm sorry for taking 3 years to get back to this.
No,
No, no,
no,
no,
no.
we keep side railing this.
It's
Sorry.
all good. No, it's fine. That's what that's part of what made the Zodiac killer, well, technically makes present tense him so hard to identify
Mhm.
because he didn't have any relation to his victims
That we know of. That we can that
that
like,
we know of.
the victims
You're right.
were so, like, that's the thing is if you have different victimology, right? So, like, you don't pick a type, it's easier because they can't ascribe like, if you don't pick a way of killing and you don't pick a type of person to kill, then they don't connect the dots that they're the same, right? The same killer.
Mhm.
So then that creates a level of difficulty. So if you can get away with doing that, plus you can
So
get away with killing people that you have no connection to, then you're never really on the scope. Like, they're
I
never really
think
looking at you.
I think you might be thinking of the New York City Zodiac killer.
Um, I was just saying, like in general, like
Oh,
if you can try and like I was just saying, like in general, like that's a good way of making it harder and harder to be found out as a killer. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
They stop making
absolutely.
those. They if they can't make the connections, like if there's no dots to connect, then
Mhm.
they just have to go off of getting really lucky, which I
Yeah.
Trying to
think is
figure
what
out how
Lena
you
was
would
saying is
phone it
like,
in, right? You kill your spouse, this person who maybe people know, you don't just you're there unless you've kind of isolated them, which I guess is potential if you're an abusive partner that's ready to kill someone.
Mhm.
You know, other people know your spouse. How do you phone that missing person in? Like, what is the disposition to expect as a police officer if you killed them, or to like who are you trying to be in that moment?
You
mid-level nervousness. So like you don't want to go over
yeah.
dramatic,
I mean,
Okay.
but
I've
you
listened to some of the 911 calls in those cases, um, which is crazy. Read the
Chilling.
transcripts before you listen to 911 calls because
Fair enough.
holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people who have killed their spouse or someone very close to them, they are either, you know, playing it up totally over dramatic,
mhm.
and then able to switch out of that very
Mm-hmm.
quickly,
Yeah.
or which I see, this one I see a lot more commonly or hear of a lot more commonly in husbands who have murdered their wives, is apathy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where
Completely
they're like, it's
disaffected.
well, yeah, she's like not here, and like her sister keeps insisting that I do this, so now I
Mm.
have to do it.
Yeah,
Where I'm calling
I
the
just
police.
don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I've
I
been
don't
here
know.
and
I don't know.
yeah, kind of out of their
She'll
hands.
probably turn up, right, guys? No,
Yeah.
nothing could
Okay.
actually be wrong. Stop looking. She's probably fine. She's
If
never gone
Mhm.
missing before, and she has no reason to. And like, yes, I'm about to get $3 million, but like, everything should be fine.
what if okay, this is I'm getting into the weeds and I'm getting a little insane with it. You make a social media profile for your partner, spouse, or whoever on a dating app. You do all of the acting as if they're cheating on you and you plan to meet up with someone. You kill them. And then
Frame
you
your
just
spouse?
yeah, no, you frame them as if they eloped with someone, they ran away.
Oh.
And then you just find
You
their
are getting put on a list right now.
I do have the Dark Lord title. I do
Yeah, you
have it.
That's
do,
so fair.
which is
Um,
fantastic. And like, here's the thing though. So the problem with that is you have to be able to create that account without it ever tracing back to an
Yeah.
IP address of
of course,
yours.
no, you
Mhm.
share an IP address. You live at the same
So
place.
no, for the
It would
partner that you set up the running away with.
Oh no, I think you actually meet like you actually chat with someone. You have to like
Yeah,
do the
in this
but then when
in
they go to
this
talk to that person's like, yeah, but they never showed up to our date.
yeah,
yeah,
and
there's
then
And
they're
then
gone.
you're just framing somebody.
Yeah, no, they just disappear in the travel. They disappear in transit. You know,
but
they're gone.
then
So
they
sorry.
Interesting. Well, like
yeah.
there's definitely some ins and outs of that. You have to like really like make sure that you don't put any, cuz like one thing that they can do, especially with like written word, and one thing that think is super interesting is that people write things specific ways. People say things specific ways. People use certain phrases that are not always that common amongst other people. So, if you type something in and they look in your partner's phone and they constantly maybe misspell a word, that's like they use the wrong there all the time, but you being grammatically correct,
Mhm.
you keep using the right there, they're going to someone's going to key that eventually, maybe not right away,
Mhm.
Okay,
but
guys.
they're going to
Okay,
key that.
train an AI on your partner. Train an AI
Oh
on your
my
partners,
god.
like on their voice calls and on their things and on their messages or whatever. And then deep fake to your partner, make a deep fake of your
Deep
partner.
fake.
And then off them. And then you have this deep fake. And then you can make like social media posts of them in like a location that's far away. And then they disappear, maybe on the return home.
All right.
And they've
We're
really
gonna have
been
to refocus on
I'm
Morgan's
sorry.
thing here. No, no, no,
I'm
no, no.
so
This is
sorry.
we're gonna start it. We're gonna actually start a separate podcast, and it's just gonna be the me and Morgan talking about true crime, and then you coming up with ways that you could do it better. We're gonna tell you about like a murder, and you're gonna be like, okay, so that's all horrific and terrible, but also here's how I would do it, and then we're gonna like go back and forth and figure out how to get away with it.
Here's what they
Um,
did wrong.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. here's what I would have done instead, not that I'm a murderer, and that's gonna be our new podcast together, and I
See,
think it's gonna
but
be fantastic.
that's the thing is like most murderers who get away with it, they don't get away with it because they're good. They get away with it because somewhere along the line, the chain of evidence was broken, so something can't be
Mhm.
taken to court, or the police allowed reporters on the scene and it
Something gets
contaminated
messed up.
forensic evidence.
Mhm.
It's loopholes that allow
Would it be
murderers
also
to
is
succeed.
it more likely for them to get caught or less likely for them to get caught if they murder in a unique way? You know what I mean?
Um, it
Hmm.
depends. If you're talking about serial murdering in a unique way, then they're more likely to get caught. If
Okay.
it's just like a one-off thing, I think that it really like depends on what that unique way is. Because
Mhm.
if it's something where it's like, wow, we've never seen anyone do this before, and we've never seen it ever again, it's
Mhm.
like, who would be that crazy to do something this way?
Honestly,
Um,
I almost have to, I mean, not completely disagree,
I think it's
but
just circumstantial.
I think that the way that the person does the murdering almost doesn't matter. Like
Okay.
the actual cause of death, like the most that's going to do is because like you said it's circumstantial. Um the most that's going to do in a serial killer is link the number of killings together more clearly, which when they're caught obviously increases the likelihood of a more severe sentence. But I think as far as getting caught, it always just comes down to the evidence that you can find and how sloppy they are.
That's what I'm thinking, right? So if you do a more practiced, like a more kind of
Yeah, someone who
traditional
has more
kill.
experience is less likely to get caught.
Well, I mean it in the sense that if you do a more kind of like a normal killing, right? Say you just take a handgun, a legally owned firearm, whatever, legally or legally illegal. One of those two words. There were two words there, different words.
Take
Um,
gun shoot.
take
That's what
gun
you're
shoot,
Yeah.
right? That's such a common one. I feel like the system in place to finding evidence for that is so robust and so practiced that it'd be different than you kind of
Yeah, well, you got a point there actually. Yeah.
you go to the hardware store, you find like a bunch of
You make like a
something.
zip gun or something.
Yeah, exactly. And then you kill someone with just nails, like a nail gun, literally, straight up. Like you
Yeah.
can't. There's no casings on a nail. There's not
I
any type
mean,
of
there are
identify.
different types of nails.
There's
You could
different types of
see
nails, but there's like
where they're
no
sold, but
identifying
yeah.
number on them, like there is for ammunition. So I'm wondering if
Mhm.
the uniqueness of the killing helps people get away with murder. Okay, I'm sorry.
Hmm.
I'm gonna stop talking now because I feel like this is gonna be held against me at some point in my
You're
life
gonna get arrested
uh,
for
for no
conspiracy,
reason for training someone on my
for inadvertently training the next generation of serial killers.
yeah. My bad. Sorry, guys.
um
Sorry, whoever died because I decided to mention the nail gun thing.
oh my god. No, you're fine. People have been killed with nail guns before.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's just gun but different.
Hmm. And it's that's what I'm thinking. Like, okay, what are the most practiced ways of identifying evidence, and then how do you subvert those? How do you take
I
advantage of?
mean, the more technology that's developed, the more and more difficult that gets.
Hmm.
For example, the Golden Gate serial killer, he got
Hmm.
away with it for decades.
Hmm.
He was a serial, obviously killer and rapist.
Hmm.
Um, and he was arrested he was active in the 70s,
Hmm.
and he was arrested just before the start of COVID.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
They caught him
One of
because they
his
had
family
a
members.
sample of DNA from one of the murder scenes, and they were finally able to test it. They ran it through like Ancestry DNA or one of those like
Mhm.
spitinatube.coms.
Yeah,
And
23andMe or whatever, you know?
yeah, they got a partial match
for his cousin, right?
for it was his cousin or his like grandson or
Yeah, like,
something. Um, but because of the partial match, they were like, "Hey, do
who in
you
his
have
family would
do
would
you have a
align to
family
this?
member that fits this description?"
Hmm. You know what's
And
kind of
that's how they got him.
You know what's crazy? It's like at that point, it's been 50 years since you've done your stint, right? You've done your
Yeah.
um at that point, what do you care if you go to jail or not? You know what I mean? Like you had
At
a
that point,
full fucking life. Like they give you
yeah.
25 life sentences, but you're 75 years old. Like,
At that
okay.
point, it's more about, I think, justice for the victims than
Yeah.
punishment on the killer, because you're right, it's, 15 years and, like, you're so old you can barely get out of bed anyways.
Yeah, exactly. And I
But,
think it's another thing too where I think people like to have the closure that
yeah.
this dude is not some immortal being that's just gonna do the shit
Yeah,
again.
he's not the unknown boogeyman, you
Yeah.
know? And that whole idea is currently happening with the Zodiac killer.
Yeah.
The reason that Netflix made this new documentary is because there is new evidence that has surfaced that points directly, uh, to
Ted
us
Cruz.
to Ted Cruz, that's it.
Um, it all Netflix is also making it because true crime makes a lot of money, for better or for worse. There was a really interesting
Yeah.
analysis they did on one of Stephen King's book. I think I don't know if it's Salem's Lot. It's not Salem's Lot. Anyway, it's basically a journalist who's following the leads of a bunch of violent crimes, right? And
Mhm.
he's using a bunch of kind of immoral means to speak to the family and whatever. And the kind of meta commentary of that book is that the real monster here, the crimes have been committed, but there's like a leech, like there's a real vampire that comes after the crimes have been committed, and
Mm.
it's this journalist gentleman who is taking kind of advantage of this. And that's one of the things that I find so conflicting about true crime is that I do find it interesting, especially around like narcotic stuff, like drug runner stuff. Like that stuff is always really interesting to me,
Mhm.
true crime wise. Um, but there's such a interesting conflict of this being like these are like legitimate atrocities, and there's some type of discomfort in my mind at them being made into spectacle.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just such an interesting moral dilemma because on the one hand, the more eyes on something, the more likely something is to be kind of thought over and solved, right? That's just how it is. But on the other hand, it's like making a ton of money off of somebody's tragedy is so strange to me.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's the fine line, but
yeah, there's
I
like an
think
asylum near me, like Penhurst Asylum, and that's like they use it
yeah.
every Halloween to say like it's haunted. Um,
Mhm.
and
But,
it's like
like, bad shit happened there.
like legitimately the worst shit ever happened there.
I
Like,
think what makes all of it so interesting to consume and learn about, though, is the the curiosity and the interest that is in everyone of the unknown, like, truly not being able to understand how someone could be at such a point to commit a crime like that. And at
yeah,
least that's what it is for me, is the psychology behind it. Is like, what does a person go through? What is a person's mindset like that those actions seem rational?
what's interesting to me is that a lot of not maybe not for serial killers, but a lot of regular murders, right? There's nothing atypical about those people's psychology, right? There's nothing so foreign to our personal lived experience that lets
Yeah.
someone kill someone else.
Like the
Um
crimes of passion, especially.
yeah,
It's
exactly. Like we
because most of
live.
those are, I mean, I shouldn't say most of those, but crimes of passion, does kind of imply that, like, it wasn't entirely the person's intention. Things get
Yeah.
out of hand, emotions spiral. That's something that everyone can relate to.
Yeah, and that's really
And
interesting to me that we are at the end of the day very ruled by our emotional
mhm.
circumstance.
And
Like,
that it's on the other side of that coin. What makes serial killers so interesting is they do tend to have very atypical um psychological states. There's
yeah.
a theory that is talked about in the world of serial killer psychology. There's a triad that has been identified amongst most serial killers. They all have some distinct markers early in their childhoods.
hmm You
And the triad of that is bedwetting past the age of 12. A
okay?
lot of serial killers have that problem.
But so do a lot of ADHD boys, unfortunately.
Well, so there's that one. There is arson.
Okay.
Arson's a big one.
Okay.
And
Harming animals,
that as
right?
well. Yes.
Those are the 3?
There's another one. So arson and the animals, I think, gets looped into like one category of like uh misdemeanor to, like
Mm,
young, like adolescent crimes. We'll just say that. Adolescent crimes, most specifically mutilation of animals and arson. And then the third thing is adolescent brain trauma.
Okay.
A lot of
Interesting.
serial killers either, I mean, they grow up in abusive households, so there's that. There's stories of, oh
just
my gosh, I
accidents,
think it
just
was,
things that happen, though,
yeah,
sometimes.
I think Ted Bundy like fell off the swings when he was like 4 and cracked his head open.
Uh-huh. What's interesting about that is that people, even minor states of trauma have like long-term effects on people's life,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mhm.
you'd think about the just like the cascading factors of like, I guess the build up to like you said, an atypical kind of
Yeah,
state.
nature
um
and nurture.
yeah, like it's interesting because like, okay, what drives normal typical people to commit crime? Typically trauma, generally speaking,
Yeah,
some type of and
desperation.
desperation, trauma, some sort of situation that is outside of comfort and safety.
Mm-hmm.
uh and so like imagine that coupled with like a predisposition to something, right? It be it lack
Yeah.
of empathy or needing some type of an emotional release or whatever. um it's just, it's all really weird because it's not, we're not super far off from people, if that makes any
Mm-hmm.
sense. We're not,
Yeah.
we're just all people, and we're so close every day. Like we're just lucky in some ways to
Yeah.
being some sort of like monstrous thing. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. It's weird. It's
Yeah, it is
weirdness.
crazy, like, the fact that, like, I mean, there are plenty of people out there that are like, "No, I never would and never will, like, kill somebody," but there is, like, the fact that, like, we are like, the wrong thing happens to a person, we're all capable of that.
Yeah,
Like,
like,
I think it's that mindset.
no, I never would never kill somebody, but you haven't never been presented with the circumstances in which you would need to,
Exactly.
or
Exactly.
want to, I suppose. I hope nobody wants to kill anybody, but I'm not naive. um
Mm.
yeah, I'm glad I live in a sheltered life. I'm so glad that my life is peaceful and I have access to peace.
Yeah.
My
But,
peace privilege.
so we are running out of time. I'm not gonna get a chance to talk about any of my hyperfixations, which
Oh
is
no,
so
I'm so
fine. No, no,
sorry.
no, 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 because I love these things too, and because I do love true crime so much, like
Mm-hmm.
that is a perfectly like fine thing for me to just kind of like glomp onto. Like I've
Before,
hyperfixated fight.
yeah. Before we wrap up, I would just want to add one more thing.
We're not wrapping up. We got a question.
I've I've been searching for it. Wait, what'd you say?
I said we're not wrapping up. We still got a question. So
Oh shit, that's right. Okay, yeah. Um take 2 of my
Electric Boogaloo.
starting sentence. Oh lord. Um but no, so what Lena was saying, I did it again. Cut this. um there's a quote that came into my mind when you were wrapping up there. Um it's from this show called Inside Man on Netflix. It's very good. I'm only on episode 3, so I can't, like unabashedly recommend it. But there's a quote from the main character who is in jail for murder, and he says, "Everyone is a murderer. You just need a good reason and a bad day." And that's kind of what you were saying about, just you've never been put in the circumstances that would necessitate you to do something like
That's a
that.
cool ass quote, actually, not gonna lie.
Yeah, dude, that's why I
That goes
brought it up.
hard.
It's
That goes
yeah,
really hard. Holy
chills,
shit.
man.
Yeah, for real. I want to start watching Netflix stuff again, but because they changed their pricing, I have this like pathological need to not consume their media anymore.
mm-hmm.
I'm
Oh,
so mad at
so
them.
fair.
I'm just so annoyed. It's everybody, dude. I was so pissed at Hulu for the longest time because I'm like, how am I paying money and still getting ads? And Netflix just decided that they wanted to do the same thing, and I was like, absolutely not. I can't believe it. Um, Anywho, yes.
Yeah, pass the mic to Meg.
Yeah.
Actually, the one person who's here who's never done the podcast could all be the question asker.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I did not prepare you. I didn't think of it until 5 seconds ago. But
What am I
Flana, do
asking you?
you want to ask a end of episode question?
Um, on what subject?
Well, it could be literally anything. I'm at episode 2. I asked Colin and Laura how many times they've been dropped on their heads as babies.
Oh,
That's
that would be
so
So
fitting for today's episode.
it would have been. It would have been great. It would have been great. No, that's what led to them bullying me about throwing me off a cliff in
Ah,
Sparta. So
yes.
yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna ask you instead, what is a food combination that you eat regularly and you know is weird,
Ooh. Hmm.
and you know it, and every time you eat it, you're like, I'm glad nobody sees me eating
Tostitos
this.
and orange juice.
Okay.
All right. Oh man.
There's something about the chips, and I mean, I'm not eating like cereal, but like I'll eat the chips, and I really enjoy drinking orange juice when I do. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
There's just something about it. I don't know if it's like the saltiness of like a corn chip, but I specifically Tostitos because that's usually the only kind of chips I get. But then orange juice.
Mhm.
Um. Okay. I've got two. Um. Because one of them isn't a combination, and then the other one I've only ever done last night. Um. It's a new thing.
Just last night, not a
Just
new
last
one.
night, I swear.
It's only been once.
It's only been once.
I don't have a problem. I can quit anytime.
So I get made fun of this, for this quite frequently. I truly snack like a person with ADHD, where making a meal is too much. So, but I don't want to just eat chips all the time because then
Mhm.
like I feel bad.
Yes,
Um,
agreed.
and I love cheese.
Oh god,
So the
where is
thing
this
that I
going?
the thing that I do a lot that people make fun of me for, and also like I know you can buy cheese sticks. I know you can buy like prepackaged squares of cheese, but
It's
those
not
are
the
more
same.
expensive than just getting a pack of cheese slices.
Mhm. Yep. It's
So
not the same either. It's not the
it
same.
is it is not uncommon to find me walking around the house at any time of day or night with just cheese slices in my hand.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yep, just from the deli.
And
So,
what was the one you did last night that you
oh, Joe, my
Let's go.
boyfriend made uh mashed potatoes
Mhm.
for dinner.
Yep.
That wasn't the whole dinner, that was just part of it. Nobody freak out. Um and we didn't have any milk, so he made them with water, so they tasted, a little bit more like instant than usual.
Yep.
And also on my plate uh
Really quick,
was
good substitute if you don't have milk, sour cream. Funny enough.
oh,
I
noted.
don't know
We don't have
anybody
that
who has
either.
I don't know anybody who
Yeah,
doesn't have milk but has sour cream.
yeah, can't
That's
say that.
You were
Yeah.
planning a taco night, and
Yeah.
you didn't stop at the store to grab milk on your way
what?
home. I'm just
Who
Yeah.
saying.
has sour
We're planning a
cream but not
taco
milk?
night.
You don't live your
Sorry,
life
sorry.
with sour cream constantly in your
Planning a
fridge. You're missing out.
No.
planning a taco
I really
night
like.
to make mashed potatoes?
No, I'm
That's
just
the
saying, like taco night's tomorrow initially, but you didn't stop to
Sure.
get milk.
Okay.
Why
Oops.
wouldn't you have gotten milk though? Because it's a basic necessity.
Oh
No,
my
it's not.
god.
I would never buy milk. In
So
my
we were
life, I would never buy milk.
so we were eating dinner. There was those,
Just a fridge
cardboard.
full of sour cream and
Yes.
Yeah.
no milk.
I've destroyed Lena. I've
I'm
destroyed
so
Lena.
You've
I
sorry,
just
killed
Morgan. I
them.
know you're trying to talk back
No,
in.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is.
You'll
That's
find sour
just
cream in my
today's
fridge, but you
episode.
won't find milk. When I have my own
No
fridge,
vegetables, no nothing.
actually you will find
Just eating it by the
tomatoes. You'll find
spoonful.
so here's the thing. I don't like cheese except for like mozzarella, maybe some like parmesan on
Sour
occasion.
cream.
But
That's
you'll
fucked
you'll
up.
have sour cream.
Your
You'll have
secret fridge in the basement.
the only vegetables you'll find
It's my
are
cheese fridge.
carrots, cucumbers, and tomatoes. That's all you'll ever find for vegetables in my fridge.
Meg's got a second secret fridge in the basement that's
Yeah,
just full
yeah,
of
yeah.
sour
For
cream.
sour cream.
Not and it's like
It
it's
goes
one of
bad too
those.
quickly. You're not thinking. You're
It's
not
like
thinking. It goes bad too
it's
fast.
hidden in a like one of the how they cover fridges in like cabinetry now? It's
Oh
like
yeah,
hidden
yeah.
behind the
It's
wall.
it's a sole
Listen,
secret room.
listen. I pay $2 when I order Mexican food from the place around the corner from me. I pay $2 for them to give me a big old thing of sour cream just because it lets me put more pico on my tacos. and so because it's
More
spicy.
pico on your gallo.
Yeah.
God damn it, I was literally just gonna say that.
But I like the spice,
Oh,
but I don't wanna be in, like, prolonged pain, so I'm like, "Ooh, spicy," but also there's enough sour cream on this that I just fix the
Wash her
problem
down, wash
immediately.
her off.
But no,
Anyway, Morgan, keep
does
going about your watery
yeah,
mashed
yeah,
potatoes.
your
that's
shitty
it's
watery
yeah,
potatoes, what
water
did you
mashed potatoes, didn't I had some ranch on the plate, so I mixed some ranch in with the mashed potatoes, which after this hell hole of a conversation doesn't seem that crazy.
No, it
mm,
doesn't. Honestly, God, the sour cream fridge was crazy to me.
Yeah, that was we've
I
been on
can't
an
believe Megan
adventure
confessed
today.
to that. I can't believe.
I know, for real though, like, truly,
Uh,
when I have my own fridge, you will never find, like, normal milk. I might have, like, oat or I don't like oat milk, almond milk in there if I get back to into my cereal fixation, but you'll never fucking find normal milk in my fridge, but you will find because like, milk, first of all, it's disgusting. Milk is gross. It's gross. It tastes bad. It tastes bad. It so tastes bad, and
Okay,
you
we're
can
gonna do
get the
another
same
episode
effect
with
with
hot takes about
potatoes.
food.
yeah,
Listen,
yeah. Oh,
I think
swear to
we all just
God.
start our own podcast separate from this. We can have multiple
Huh,
podcasts. It's not that much work.
two things can be true. It's
We can
okay.
have Buzzbait as a separate thing. I've got another podcast that I'm starting anyways, which by the way, Lena, I would love to have you on to talk about the animation stuff because I'm talking
Okay.
about like basically like people's like expertise and like their
I
big
love
interest and
animation.
hobbies. Like
I could have gone on. I could
Okay,
feel it.
gang.
I could have gone on for so long.
yeah, yeah. And then we're gonna start another one that's just the true crime stuff, and then we're gonna talk about another one that's just whatever the fuck our ADHD brains do. So we'll have like 5 podcasts and it'll be
Yeah,
fine.
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
Spoilers.
there's nothing wrong with having too many things going on, I say, as I close down 1.5 million tabs.
Yeah, it's
Um,
fine.
if you're still listening at this point, you're a champion.
You
Yeah.
are. You
Um,
have the honorary. I'm going to take you as my servant, my dark lordship. You can be a lower rank, not so high. You don't have you're not in my confidence yet, but you can
Mm.
I'll
but if you're
teach you
still
some of my
listening,
murder skills.
that's cool. So Lena's forming a cult.
Mhm.
Crazy. Um, that's gonna be great. Good for you. Glad.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I've thought about this actually too.
one thing I needed to add in, I didn't do it as a beginning, but I am gonna end it on the end. This episode is actually going to be coming out on the new Katana Fish podcast channel. We were having some
Woo!
difficulties. They're marketing it as a games channel, so we're not getting as much hits on like our podcast content. So we are
Hits,
transferring
hits, hits.
the podcast stuff over to its own channel, Buzzbait Pods, and that's where we're going to be keeping any of our podcast content for like other podcasts and stuff. So it's all still produced and made by the same people, but just because algorithm issues, we are moving it all over there. So definitely go like and subscribe and follow the podcast over there. Again, that's Buzzbait Pods. That's going to be in a couple weeks, probably right around the time that this episode is coming out. We might be one of the first drops on the new channel.
Nice.
That'll be
I'm so
fun.
proud.
That'll be
Hey, if
fun.
you're a champion that's still listening, comment your hyperfixation.
Yes, definitely
Mhm.
comment your hyperfixation. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. We got to keep it something, guys. We always keep it something. We
Keep it fixated, man.
keep it
Mhm.
fixated. All
Mhm.
right, that's
Keep it
fantastic.
focused.